Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today is day 17, so it's the 17th of December, and we are on, finally, to the best season of the L Word, Season 5, Episode 1. Now, before we get started with the review, just wanted to say, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, why aren't you subscribed? Don't you want to know all the season 2 information that is coming out about Generation Q? So make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if at any point you enjoy the video, please give it a little thumbs up, as it really helps out the channel. And if you have any thoughts, questions, comments about season 5 or anything in general, just pop them down in the comments section down below. And if you subscribe, like, and comment, you'll be entered into a draw to win an L Word goodie bag that I will announce on Christmas Day. I have contacted the person who won the L Word Generation Q on DVD, so I contacted them on Instagram. But with the goodie bag, I was looking around to see what like other people do for picking the winners, and I found this like thing where you put like all the videos in, and it actually runs the comment. And so when I do that on Christmas Day, I'll run it in the video so you can like actually see the thing picking the comment, and that will be how I contact you, because obviously usually like there's a lot of time between me doing the last video and knowing, okay, I need to pick the winner. But with the Christmas Day one, like I'm just going to do it either the night before or that day, so it'll be quite a quick turnover, so it's just easier to put it in the video next time. So that's how I'll do the Christmas Day one. So without further ado, let's get on to my favorite season of the L Word, Season 5, Episode 1, LGBTs. I'm actually quite glad. I was going back and forth about whether to release that Jenny interrogation tape, about whether to do it this week or next week, and I'm glad I did it this week, because there's two plot points in this episode that are never wrapped up with season 6, but then you find out in the interrogation tapes. So if you haven't already seen the interrogation tapes or seen my video about them, you can check it out. I'll link it in the cards above. And again, they're, pretty abysmal, but you do find out some interesting things that they probably should have put in the real series. So anyway, starting off with Jenny, she actually starts the episode too, which is good, and I really enjoy that like reimagining of the pilot party. And there's even kind of more funniness being brought to it, because when Laurel Holloman was on Pants, again linked to the cards above, she was talking about how they had to reshoot that party scene a load of times, because it's such a long scene, like, and there's so many, like Bette and Tina talking, and Jenny and Marina, and Tina and Shane, and all these things going on, so they had to constantly reset, and then they had to do it all over again, because originally the guy who played Tim was not Eric Mabius, so they had to go back and reshoot all the scenes with Tim from the pilot. So Laurel Holloman was saying, like, we felt like that was like the never-ending party, and we were in those clothes like constantly. So I'm sure when they saw the wardrobes coming out, they were like, oh my god, not again. Jenny is really in her full-blown Jenny mode. I mean, there's even mentions of manatees in this episode, and obviously she's, gone and met this billionaire, William, and he is funding the movie, and in this episode is where we find out that Jenny is going to direct Late Girls, and I think Tina pretty much is the audience. We're all like, okay. So, as we know, the Late Girls thing just gets better and better with every episode, so really looking forward to the rest of that. Kit doesn't really have that much going on this episode. We do have her saying to Bette, like, I'm the reason you don't have a Manny. So, Angus is gone. I mean, there was a lot of people that disappeared between the end of season 4 and now. Angus was gone, Pappy was gone, and like they were, leads in the credits, And at least Angus kind of got a throwaway line. Poppy just disappeared. Catherine disappeared. And after this episode, Paige disappears. Speaking of Paige, Shane in this episode, you know, in the beginning, her and Paige are moving into this very typical apartment complex, and has a pool and all that. It looks like an apartment complex that I used to live in. And Paige goes to get Jared to show him, and when she comes back, obviously Jared doesn't see anything, but Paige opens the door and Shane and the real estate agent are hooking up. And there was some other, I mean, the party was a callback to the pilot, and then the real estate agent, when she's saying to Shane, oh, so-and-so says hi, and all these girls that Shane has obviously slept with, the second person she said is Lacey, and that's the girl from the pilot who was like making all the posters for Shane. She's played by Melissa Etheridge's ex-wife. Helena in this episode is not in a good place. She's in jail, and she is actually bunkmates with Dusty. And Dusty they did this quite a lot, where they reused people and thought that we wouldn't notice, but we do. Like the woman who played young Bette in season 3 ended up using her, I think it's episode 3 this season, where Shane goes and like sleeps with all the bridesmaids. Maybe it's next episode. But yeah, they do this all the time. So Dusty actually in the earlier seasons was Dana's trainer. And in real life, the woman who plays Dusty, she's like a super like kickboxing champion. And she is Eileen Chaikin, the series creator, her personal trainer in real life. I really love the scene of Alice, Tina, and Shane coming to visit Helena. I mean, the scene where they walk down the prison cells, it was a little bit weird because it's like, and I'm by no means an expert in prison, but they don't generally bring you through prison cells as a visitor. Like you go into a visitor room. So that was a little bit strange. And then Shane was strange in that scene because she was like, Shane is one of those quiet types that normally women come to her, and she just seemed to have some sort of personality transplant for that very short walk. And I loved like Alice was like clinging on to Tina, and she was telling Tina, you know, you got to forget about Bette. I did. It's not that difficult, which I thought was really funny. But when they go to visit Helena and they're sitting there, you know, it was good the way they did it, because they were saying, you know, the bail's so high, and explaining why. And this scene always makes me wonder, like, what is the deal with Helena? Because obviously she has a British accent and Peggy doesn't, but did she just go to school in the UK? Or this is like my thing, because obviously like I'm American and British, and to like originally, like I was born in the UK, like I was born in Northern Ireland. So when I was 17 and I moved there, I had to get a visa, and I had another visa, and then I got a green card, and then I got, like, it took a really long time to do it. And you have to be squeaky clean. It's really expensive to do it. I nearly actually ended up, this is kind of funny, because before I turned, my birthday's in like 3 days. So this time about 13 years ago. So I was about to turn 21 in like 4 days, and my visa expired when I turned 21, because I'd come in under, my dad had this like special visa for, it's the same visa that like David Beckham's on in the beginning. It's called an O visa. It's like for a special, like you bring in some like special thing that someone in the US doesn't have. And so because I was under that, like I got to go to university and stuff there. But when I turned 21, I had to do it myself. So I applied for my green card, and you have to give up the visa to apply for the green card. So my visa was about to expire and the green card hadn't come yet. And I was like, well, if it doesn't come, I'm going to have to leave the country. And I was in a serious relationship. I graduated early from university, so I was a senior then when I was 20. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So my girlfriend at the time, her dad was gay, And so he was literally like, well, if it gets to the 19th, then you still don't have I'll marry you. So, because again, gay marriage wasn't legal then, so I couldn't just marry her. And yeah, it was cutting it really close. And the lawyer that I had, he said he'd been doing it for 20 years and he'd never seen someone get a green card so quick. And it still took me 3 years to get it. So I got it on the 18th of December and I just got to stay by the skin of my teeth. But the whole point of that story was, like, Helena, the way they're talking here, it sounds like she doesn't have citizenship. So is she on a green card? I mean, she would have no problem, I'm sure, with like, because she's pouring money into the US and she's not like taking a job really because she's, so I'm assuming she's on a green card. Or I mean, she could just be coming in on a tourist visa, but she'd have to be leaving like every 90 days to regenerate it. Also want to call out Leisha Haley's acting in this scene. I don't know, I think she is an amazing actress, and I know this is like a weird thing to say because this is a whole point of acting, but she is just so authentic. Like, I feel as though, obviously you can look at someone like Jennifer Beals and be like, she's amazing, but with Leisha Haley, I feel like most of the things she says, they could have been ad-libbed because she's just such a natural. Like, she's really, really not appreciated enough for how good she actually is, and she's just awesome. I think she's so good. And in this scene in particular where she's like, talking to Helena, I think she's brilliant. Max doesn't have too much going on in this episode. There's that scene with Alice and Phyllis at the planet where they're filming a podcast. Yes, filming a podcast. And no wonder Alice is like a talk show host and has a gajillion dollars, because she was doing this in this, I think this season was 2007, and she's doing a podcast, which I think this is the first time I ever heard the word podcast, and she had a social media networking site. Like, Alice, I need to be Alice's backer. She really knows well, apart from the fact she was filming a podcast, but that's neither here nor there. And again, I say this every time there's some sort of issue with how Max is being portrayed, so pretty much every episode, that if you haven't seen Disclosure on Netflix, go and watch it. This is your daily reminder, because everything they talk about in Disclosure, I totally agree with, and they talk about it way better than I ever could. So check out Disclosure. Alice is quite down in this episode, obviously, because Tasha is going to Iraq and it's like the most dangerous place in the world, and she's constantly has the news on with like all these terrible war stories, and we only briefly see like Tasha calling her for like a few seconds, and at one point she's like really upset at the planet, and Bette's like, oh, she doesn't need to go through this again. But there were some obviously bright spots with Alice throughout the episode. Like I said before, the prison scene, Leisha Haley was awesome. And at the very end, we do have Tasha coming back, and Alice, when she goes to answer the door and she puts on like that very deep voice, and she's obviously thrilled it's Tasha, and they have like a cute scene at the end. So I'm really glad that they didn't, in the beginning I was kind of worried that they were going to just have Tasha gone for at least like half the season, and then we'd only see her like the way we saw her on the phone call, and I think that just would have been awful. So I'm really glad they were like, oh no, like change of plans, and she came back, because yeah, I love Tasha, and Rose Rollins is awesome too, so glad that she's back for the entire season. Tina and Bette have some cute scenes in this episode at the beginning where the preschool for Angie. I mean, it made me think about like when I wanted my brother to go to my old school, and yeah, like I'm like a Bette, so but I was that person that everyone was like, oh, who is she? Because I went to the school and all the teachers there taught me, and then some of the teachers were my friends that I went to school with and now have become teachers. So when I would go to like the parents things, all the teachers would be like, you know, giving me hugs and chatting to me, and I could see some of the parents being like, who's she? And obviously for my youthful looks, for like an 18-year-old. We do get the famous pool scene in this episode too, where Tina just calls out Bette, and yeah, that's a really great scene where Bette is reading a magazine like this. She's turning the pages, looking at Tina. It's like, Bette, you're fooling no one with that magazine. And, you know, Bette's trying to ask her what's going on with Kate Arden. Kate Arden disappeared as well, never to be heard of again. And Tina is saying, you know, like, oh, I'm not seeing anyone. And throughout the whole episode, like, Alice and Shane are trying to get Tina to, like, find someone. And Tina just only has eyes for one. And at the end of the episode, Jodie comes back, and the scene in the loft where Jodie says to Bette, like, oh, it's kind of my space, like, I wish that I got to decorate it. And I respect Jodie for saying what she feels, because I have issues doing that. But I don't know, like, my instincts would be to do what Bette did, to be nice, not to, you know, control everything. But I am Bette with, like, therapy and, like, deep inner looking at yourself for the person you are and your flaws and trying to work on them. Whereas Bette's just, like, bulldozes through life. So I probably would have done something like, I would have brought I don't know, Jodie's not really a flower person, but something nice like that, like balloons or cookies or something. And then I would have, like, stocked the fridge with, like, their favorite things, and then let them do all, especially because, like, Jodie's an art person, they can, like, do it however they want, and then at least there's, like, food and wine and stuff like that. So there's a tip for Bette. Think about what you're doing. Two kind of things that are raised in this episode that basically are not really ever spoken of again is wax burns to the ground, and it's clearly arson. And Helena, you know, there's Alice and that are like, where did you hide the money? Like, if you tell them, they'll probably drop the charges. And by the end of the season, we don't know. I mean, they clearly imply it's Paige that set the arson, and they never really talk about where is the money again. But as we know from the interrogation tapes, which again, I'll link them at the very end of the video so that you can go and watch what I say, and then there's also a link to the actual tapes. But Shane actually is the one who burned wax down, and Helena stole the money and gave it to, because Catherine's like some big Republican Bush supporter, she gave it to, like, Planned Parenthood and all these LGBTQ organizations. So in case you've been wondering for 12 years, that's what happened. And that's pretty much it for this episode, guys. If this episode always feels like when you come back to school after summer break and everyone's 10 and you're kind of like setting everything up for the year. I mean, we lost a lot of cast members in the ether between season 4 and 5, but there's also that Paige was like straggled over for one episode, but she's gone now. And to be honest, I think that's for the best, so we can really focus on our main people, because it was getting a bit big there in the last few episodes. You would only get like a few scenes with each person. So I do prefer the focus in season 5 being on, our main cast. I'm just really excited for the rest of the season. Season 5 is so good, and as I said, I'm trying to work towards season 5, episode 4 review dropping on Christmas Day, and then I'll do 5 sometime between the 25th and the 30th, and then I want season 5, episode 6 to drop either the 31st or the 1st of January. Start 2021 off the right way for sure. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up as it really helps out the channel. And if you're not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe to get a notification for when all the season 2 news drops for Generation Q, and to continue on with my L Word advent calendar where I'm dropping a video every single day, December 1st through 25th. Now, my live this week, I put up a poll on Twitter yesterday because I can't do my usual time, and it looks as though the time that's going to win is 2 hours before. So it'll be tomorrow, Friday, at 5 p.m. UK, noon Eastern Time, and 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I know that's quite early the Pacific side, but I'm also going live on Sunday, and it will probably be about 4 5 UK time, so about the same time again, and that'll be for about an hour on Sunday. I do make the links live a couple of hours before, especially on Friday, and I send it out over Twitter and Instagram, so be sure to look out for those. And then if you go follow them to YouTube, you can set a reminder so it will remind you. And then also, if you have your notifications turned on, YouTube will notify you when I do go live. And if you want even more L Word content, be sure to follow me on all of my social medias. Any season 2 pictures that come out from the set, I post them over on Instagram and Twitter, so make sure to check me out over there. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and thank you especially to everyone who's been watching all of my advent calendar days. I love doing this, you guys know that. But make sure to take care of yourself, stay safe, and I'll see you all soon. Bye! If you want huge season 2 of Generation Q casting news, Carrie is revealed, click this video. And if you want to finally know what happened in those interrogation tapes about the spin-off The Farm and the whole murder mystery plot of season 6, click this video.